the Pharaonic village. Doing the tour. Dropped inside by the cab. Just got my tickets here. So with the tour 600, and then plus there is a river cruise for 45 minutes, which is another 50 or 650. It cost me 650 Egyptian pounds, which is like about $13-14 US dollars. Now I'm going to go inside and I will keep recording. This is a theme park. Very attractive looking. This place looks very nice. That was the ticket office. Those are the gates. Miniature obelisks. This is the entrance. It's very nice looking pavilion. Pharaonic village. This is where we wait for the tour in the boat to the Pharaonic village. There's a boat I can see docking now. Another one over there. It's like a theme park. 6 museums showcasing Egyptian history.
طيب ما تجيبوش ليه؟ ما انا مش كده كده في مكان.
Going on the boat now.
Arabic
Returning.
You speak Arabic? English? English book number 6. هيبقى انجليزي معاك يا محمد. محمد انجليزي هيبقى معاك، هيبقى عربي قدام وانجليزي ورا.
Boat number 6. English.
مين على مين؟ ده هات الجاكيت بتاع ابوك. فين الجاكيت؟ مش العربية؟ العربية واحد بس مين مش جنب؟ لا مش جنب لا. أنا بقول لك واحد.
Speaking people, I'll leave it.
تعالى طيب يلا.
Off we go now.
Greetings and welcome to the Pharaonic village. This was the inspiration of Dr. Hassan Regev, who wanted to recreate an ancient Egyptian village on the banks of the Nile with as authentic an environment as possible, which not only reproduces the ancient surroundings, but also, along with the hundreds of trees which were planted around the village, provides an effective screen to isolate this glimpse of Egypt's ancient past from sights and sounds of modern life. The Pharaonic village covers an area of 32 acres, where people dressed in the clothes of ancient times perform their daily tasks in agriculture, industry, religious affairs and home life, using replicas of the tools and instruments of the ancient Egyptians. When Dr. Abdusalam Regev took over the village from his father, he expanded it with 10 special museums, covering such varied subjects as mummification, ancient boats, the Coptic and Islamic periods, and the life of President Nasser. Dr. Abdusalam has made the Pharaonic village into an open book on Egyptian history and culture. You are about to take a voyage back in time to the land of the pharaohs 4,000 years ago. Of the Roman god Nilos, the personification of the river Nile. Nilos rests his arm on a sphinx, symbol of Egypt's great antiquity, and is attended by crocodiles which were found in the Nile in ancient times. The children surrounding the god represent the new life and fertility brought to the land by the annual flood. First of all, we will enter the Canal of Mythology, where there are statues of some of the principal gods and pharaohs of ancient times. The plant growing in the water here is papyrus, which was used by the ancient Egyptians for making paper. The modern name actually comes from the name of the plant. Papyrus grew abundantly in Egypt in Pharaonic times, especially in the marsh. But it gradually disappeared after new methods of manufacturing paper were brought to this country from China in about 1000 AD. The ancient art of making paper from papyrus was lost until about 30 years ago, when Dr. Hassan Regev started this papyrus plantation and rediscovered the art after many years of research. Papyrus was also used for making boats, mats and sandals, and the lower part of the stem was vegetable. The papyrus plant was the symbol of Lower Egypt, the northern part of the country, while the lotus flower was the symbol of Upper Egypt. As well as being prized for its perfume, the lotus symbolized resurrection to the ancient Egyptians, because the flower opens when the life-giving sun is out and closes when the sun sets.
Is a canal of mythology and meet some of the ancient gods.
I am Osiris, the god of resurrection, judge of the underworld, lord of eternity. I was worshipped throughout the Middle Kingdom. When I am painted on the walls of tombs, I am often shown as a mummy, and my skin is green. But when I was king of Egypt, the land was peaceful and prosperous, and I was loved by all, until I was murdered by my jealous brother Set. He tore me into pieces, which he scattered throughout the land. have remained had it not been for my faithful wife.
Of Osiris and the goddess of fertility. When my husband was cruelly murdered, my sister Nephthys and I searched throughout the land for the pieces of his body, which we gathered from all 42 provinces of Egypt. When I brought Osiris back to life, we were able to conceive my son, Horus, who I hid in papyrus reeds and raised before instructing him to avenge his father's death.
I am Horus, Falcon Lord, god of the sun and moon. My wicked uncle, Set, murdered my father and stole his throne. When I became a man, I attacked Set to reclaim what was mine. It was a bloody battle, and Set gouged out my left eye, blinding the side of me. But Thoth, the god of wisdom, healed me, and I fought on. In the end, I triumphed and won back the throne. The symbol of my lost eye, the Eye of Horus, is now a magical amulet, protecting good from evil. Find it if you can.
I, the Sun God, God of kings, King of the gods, ultimate ruler of all Egypt. The temple of Karnak, constructed by 30 pharaohs over hundreds of years, was built to honor me. My name means Hidden One, and I was indeed the keeper of a secret name, my most carefully guarded possession. But the goddess Isis tricked me and stole it. On my daily stroll through the heavens, she hid a serpent which struck me, and as its poison coursed through my limbs, so too did the waters of the Nile spill out over the land, flooding the fields of Egypt. When I felt this agony, I begged Isis to use her magic to save me. I screamed to her, I am colder than water, I am hotter than fire of summer. But still, she would not help. And so, desperate, I gave to her son Horus his two eyes, the sun and the moon, and whispered to her my secret name. And though she used my powers to strengthen herself, would you like to hear my secret name now? Shall I whisper it to you? Never enough time.
I am Tutmosis III, Pharaoh of Egypt, but you may know me as the stepson of Queen Hatshepsut. When my father died, he appointed my stepmother, Hatshepsut, to be my regent, to advise me when I was young, so that I might grow to become a wise pharaoh. But when I reached manhood, Hatshepsut stole my throne and made herself pharaoh. She took over the kingdom and commanded the army in my place, and to commemorate her rule, she erected buildings in her honour, and even carved images of herself as a man with a beard into the walls and tombs of the Valley of the Kings. But my time was coming, and when she died and I became pharaoh, I had those same images destroyed, and her name stricken from the walls of the temples and tombs. I was sure that if I destroyed those relics, the world would forget her. But she has not been forgotten. And so, despite my 17 military campaigns and my great successes as pharaoh, I am often remembered only as Queen Hatshepsut's stepson, the pharaoh child in waiting. Won't history ever forget her reign? When will I be remembered for something more?
To measure the rise of the annual flood, which occurred every summer. This enabled tax assessors to estimate the revenue from the grain harvest the following spring. Even in those days, farmers complained that they did all the work and the taxman got all the profit.
I am Akhenaten, Pharaoh of Egypt and worshipper of one god, the god Aten. Until my 5th year of reign, I was known as Amenhotep IV, a name which means Amen is satisfied. But I turned away from the god Amun and the many other gods worshipped by my countrymen, and chose instead to worship one God and one God alone, Aten, the sun god, the giver of life, the protector of Egypt. I tried to teach my people the power of Aten, and I built for them a beautiful new capital, the city of Tel El Amarna. My wife Nefertiti and I lived in this capital, and it was there that she gave birth to my son Tutankhaten. But when I died, the people forsook my God and betrayed Aten to worship Amun once again. Even my son Tutankhaten gave up his birth name and became Tutankhamun to appease the masses. And so my city Tel El Amarna and my god Aten were abandoned by the Egyptians. But one day Aten will rise again and be worshipped by all. Is today that day?
Ramses the Great, Pharaoh of Egypt, ruler of the land. I was the most powerful pharaoh in all of history, and I ruled Egypt for 66 years. The Greeks called me Ozymandias and wrote stories of my works, for I was the king of kings. In the southern lands, my wife Nefertari and I built a new temple, Abu Simbel, and near Thebes we constructed the Ramessean temple in the desert. With my army, I defeated the Hittites, the Nubians, foreign sea pirates, and all other invaders. For Egypt ruled the world. Sadly, all things must pass, so too did I, but not before having 100 children. To the desert I returned. Buried is a mummy in the Valley of the Kings. After my death, 9 more pharaohs took the name Ramses in my honor, but there was only one king, Ozymandias, king of kings.
Most famous of Ramesses II's monuments is the great temple at Abu Simbel in Nubia, south of Aswan. This magnificent building, with its famous colossal statues of the king, was cut entirely in the rock, along with the nearby temple of Ramesses' favorite queen, Nefertari. The 2 temples were rescued from the waters of Lake Nasser when the Aswan High Dam was being built in the 1960s. This scene shows the discovery of the child Moses, whose mother had put him in a basket and floated it on the Nile to prevent him from being killed by Pharaoh's soldiers. The child was discovered by a member of Pharaoh's family and was brought up in the royal palace. Eventually he became a prophet who led his own people, the Hebrews, out of Egypt. The grotesque dwarf god Bes was a great favorite with the Egyptians. He was believed to protect people against snakes and scorpions, and was particularly regarded as a patron of women in childbirth. In general, Bes was the god of pleasure and enjoyment of every kind. Now life in ancient Egypt comes alive with scenes of agriculture and industry. The nobleman and his wife are enjoying the fresh air in their garden pavilion. They are playing a game called senet, a game for 2 players, a form of which is still played in Egypt today. Ploughing is the first operation in preparing the land for cultivation, and here we see the ploughman with his team and a simple wooden plough. After ploughing, the heavy clods of soil are broken up with a hoe, and then furrows are made with the broad-bladed mattock. The sower scatters the seed from a small bag or basket, and sheep follow the sower to press the seed into the tough soil with their feet. Beside the houses in the background are pigeon towers. The Egyptians kept pigeons for food, and they were used for carrying messages, especially for the army. The fields are irrigated by means of the shadoof, which works like a balance, with a bucket at one end of a long pole and a heavy stone as a counterweight. Shadoofs are still sometimes used in the Egyptian countryside. When the grain is harvested, the sheaves are carried to the threshing floor in a net bag hung on a long pole. When a thick layer of grain has been spread on the circular floor, oxen or cows are driven round to break up the ears of grain with their heavy feet. The next process is winnowing, when the grain is tossed up into the air so that the lighter chaff or husk will blow away on the wind. The grain is then taken to be stored in the silos. The scribe makes a careful record of all the grain which is being stored. This was important for taxation purposes, as there was no money in Egypt in Pharaonic times. Honey was used for sweetening by the ancient Egyptians, as sugarcane was not grown in Egypt in those days. Beehives were made of pottery tubes piled up in rows, and in some parts of the country, beehives are still made this way today. The River Nile was the main highway of communication in Pharaonic times, so boat building was an important industry. Small boats were made of bundles of papyrus tied together with ropes. Such boats were used for short journeys and for fishing or hunting trips. Larger boats were made of wood, usually cedar wood imported from Lebanon. Wooden boats were pegged together with dowels and sewn together with ropes, as can be seen in the cross-section on the bank. When the boat was put into the water, the wood expanded and the rope shrank, so the boat became completely watertight. A royal boat of this type can be seen in the museum beside the Great Pyramid of King Cheops at Giza. The palm tree was a valuable resource for the Egyptians. The trunk was used in house building, and the branches provided fronds for making mats and baskets, while furniture and boxes were made from the ribs. The boxes were used for storage and as cages for small animals and birds. The Egyptians today still use the various parts of the palm tree for the same purposes. There were many different kinds of fish in the Nile and its canals which made good food, and fishing was also popular as a sport. One method of fishing can be seen here, where a net is stretched between two boats, and the fisherman hits the water with a stick to frighten the fish into the net. Let's see if he's been lucky today.
The ancient Egyptians were the first people to do sports. We have many depictions showing us the ancient Egyptians while we were playing stick fighting, archery, and wrestling.
Next there are demonstrations of some industries and crafts, the first of which is brickmaking. The material used is the Nile mud, which is mixed with water and chopped straw into a thick paste. This paste is put into a wooden mould, and the bricks are then simply left to dry in the sun. As there is little heavy rain in Egypt, these mud bricks can last for centuries. The houses of the ancient Egyptians, even the palaces of the pharaohs, were constructed of sun-dried mud brick. The roof was made of split palm trunks covered with branches. The building was covered with a thick layer of mud, which acted as insulation against heat, wind, and rain. Glassmaking making was introduced into Egypt after the military campaigns of Thutmose III about 1450 BC, when captive glassmakers were brought here from Syria. Glass was used for making beads, inlays, amulets and small vessels, which were formed around a core, as glass blowing was not invented until the 1st century BC. In Ptolemaic times, Alexandria became a centre of glass craftsmanship, and in the Roman period, fine cameos were produced in the same city. The Egyptians are also famous for mummifying their dead. Mummification is basically dehydration, and to speed up this process, the internal organs of the body were removed and preserved separately. The body was dried out by being covered with natron salt, a form of soda found in the deserts of Egypt. The body was then cleaned and embalmed and wrapped in several layers of linen bandages. Amulets were put between the bandages to protect the mummy from harm. The whole process took 70 days. Pottery making is one of the oldest crafts in Egypt, dating back to about 6000 BC. The clay is kneaded with water and mixed with ground potsherds or chopped straw, which helps the finished pot to dry evenly without cracking. The potter forms the pot with his fingers as he kicks the wheel round with his foot. The handles are added afterwards, and the pot is dried in the sun for a while before being fired. Now for a little Egyptian magic. This scene shows the different stages in decorating a stone wall. First of all, the surface is levelled, then smoothed and polished with a piece of hard stone. Grid lines are marked in red on the prepared surface to ensure accurate enlargements of the original drawings. The artist copies the outline onto the wall, working from the sketch made by the chief artist on a small slab of stone or a piece of papyrus. Then the sculptor carves the design in relief with his mallet and chisel. Finally, the details would be painted in colour to make the picture look as realistic as possible. Statues were partially carved in the quarry where the stone for them was cut. First of all, the block of stone is separated from the rock base by hammering wooden wedges into holes cut in the rock. The wedges are soaked with water, and as the wood expands, the block breaks away. After the stone has been smoothed and polished, the profile of the work is outlined on one side, and then the sculptor carves out the figure, rounding it off first on the front and then on the back. Vases were made from various kinds of stone, particularly alabaster, a soft stone which was worked into beautiful designs. After the rough piece of alabaster has been polished smooth, the inside is hollowed out with a drill with a flint or copper bit. The vase is sunk into the ground to prevent cracking during drilling. Alabaster vases were used as lamps and for storing perfumes and precious oils. Of the carpenter and joiner were made of copper, wood and bronze. On the left, a man is sawing a log of wood into planks. Other tools used were a hammer, chisel, an adze and a bow drill for boring holes. the pharaohs that the army was well equipped at all times. Weapons included bows and arrows, swords, battle axes and spears, as well as shields and throw sticks. The horse-drawn war chariot was introduced into Egypt by the Hyksos from Western Asia around 1700 BC. Perfumes were very popular in ancient Egypt and consisted chiefly of fragrant oils and fats. The juice is extracted from sweet-smelling flowers in a bag of heavy canvas, the ends of which are twisted in opposite directions with wooden bars. This scented extract is then mixed with oil or fat as a base. Linen made from the flax plant was used by the Egyptians for clothing and many other purposes. Bundles of flax stalks are pulled through a large wooden cone to remove the tops and leaves. The stalks are soaked in water for a few days to soften them and then beaten with a wooden mallet. They are then pulled through a smaller cone to separate the fibres from the outer woody covering, and the good fibres are picked out and spun into thread on a spindle. The fine linen thread is then woven into cloth on a loom. The earliest looms in Egypt were horizontal, and the upright loom was brought to this country by the Hyksos. Another important industry was papyrus paper making, for which the government had the monopoly. The lowest part of the stem is the best part for paper making. The outer green rind is peeled off and the white pith is sliced into thin strips which are soaked in water. After repeated soaking, the now pliable strips are placed on a piece of cloth in two layers, one vertical and one horizontal. The surface of the sheet thus formed is then hammered with a wooden mallet to cause the fibres of the two layers to stick together. The sheet is then covered with another piece of cloth and pressed between two heavy stones for several days. During that time it also dries out in the hot sun and the piece of paper is ready for use. Appreciated in Pharaonic times, and this scene shows the method of winemaking. Bunches of ripe grapes are taken to the vat where the grapes are trodden out, and the juice extracted is poured into large pottery jars to ferment. When this process is complete, the jars are sealed with a clay seal, which is stamped with the date and the name of the vineyard where the grapes were grown.
It was informative.
So we have here small size or baby size of one of ancient Egyptian temples. A temple with the house of the god. And now you are standing at drum-headed Sphinx's avenue. And this is the high priest. The high priest in ancient Egypt used to wear white clothes, catches and not mistake made of wood and covered with gold, and he used to put the liver skin. He was the only man who was available to give you permission to get inside the tomb. So would you ask him for permission, please?
Can I go inside?
This place, we call it the open court. Why we call it like this? Because it's roofless, it has no ceiling. And it's surrounded by columns, each one has different capital. Like here we have palm leaves, goddesses Hat Herdika, goddesses of love, music, and eternity. This is the sacred boat. On the left, we have a golden statue for the god which was worshipped inside the temple, inside these golden books. This place we call it the hypostyle hall. The real hypostyle hall of Karnak temple, which has about 134 columns, each one about 24 meters high. So imagine how it is the original one. It is very huge. This is just a small size. Actually, the original one located at Luxor, at south of Egypt. All of these rooms around us for storing offerings. Let me show you about this house of offerings that people here put it. Here we have different types of offerings like lion, pear, meat, and all of this stuff supposed to be eaten by God. But actually, they took it and gave it to the poor people, tell them to live. And the other part were eaten by the high priestess because they are serving the house of the God. So the temple, it wasn't a place only for worshiping, also to helping the poor people. Here we have a very famous battle. This is the Battle of Kadesh. It was between King Ramesses II, who was the leader to the Egyptian side at the time, against the Hittites or the Syrian people. This battle lasted about 16 years. Till nowadays, we didn't know who was the winner in this battle because both of the sides pretended that they achieved the victory. But what we know, this battle ended by a very important thing, the first peace treaty in the whole world between Egypt and Syria. Also, King Ramesses married the daughter of the leader of the Hittites. That's to stop war and to confirm peace. And after this, they documented everything about the peace treaty here with the hieroglyphics letters as you see. And by the way, the ancient Egyptian language, it was written by 4 kinds of writings or 4 forms, which is hieroglyphic, Demotic, Hieratic, Coptic. Coptic, it smacks between the ancient Egyptian and the Greek. So we have 4 kinds of writings for one language, which is the ancient Egyptian language. Now we're going to talk about the social life, and it's represented in 2 things, the house of the noble man, then we will see the house of the poor man. This is the house of the noble man, of the rich man, and here we have his Mercedes. This is the chariot. It's made of metal and covered with gold. It was dragged by the horses during the time of the military campaigns and the hunting trips. This is the garden of the house. And here we have goddesses posted, the cat, goddesses of eternity and protection. This is the satin chair of the wife of the rich man. It's made of wood and covered with gold. And she used to sit here to be carried by 4 servants up on the shoulders. And they go with her in anywhere she wants to go. This is the lucky lady. This is the wife of the rich man. She always sitting like this, catches in her silver polish the mirror, putting her makeup in front of her accessories. At the scenes, we have one of her servants who play some music for her on the harp. The harp, one of the most famous tools in ancient time. Look at this one. This is the room of the rich man. Here we have his bed. It is made of wood and covered with sheets of gold. This is something like a headrest or a pillow, and he's supposed to find some mattresses from linen to be comfortable for him. Now you are standing in something like a living room, and at the upper part we have some holes to allow for the air to get inside the house. Here we have 3 rooms more. The toilet, the shower room. So the toilet and the shower, it is separated, not at one place. This is the storeroom or the storage. Here, they used to store the seeds in pottery jars like this. This is the room of the servants. This is the kitchen and the stable. Here they used to keep their cattle and animals that you sowed at the agriculture scene. And we have here a pair of silos or a granary. Here they used to keep the seeds of the grains from year to year. When the farmer got the harvest, he put it from a small hole at the top. When they need something to cook, they took it from a small window at the bottom, like first in, first out. This is the market in ancient time. In ancient time, there was no currency. So they used to change the products with each other, like trading or barter system. This is the house of the poor man, and as you see, old house, it consists only of room for all the members of the family instead of one bread. The poor man, he helping his wife by making a fire to make the food for his kids. How they used to make the fire in ancient time? They used to use linen seed oil with dried grass, and by fraction for a long time. You know he's cheating you. He put some cotton and it matches to melt it very quickly. And if you open in the backyard, we have the seedlings. This is the lotus. It was a very sacred flower according to the ancient Egyptians. They note it opens when the sun rises and it closes when the sun sets. So they realized by this way it was worshipping the sun disk. That's why they worshipped it. It has different colors, white, yellow, and purple. Nowadays they use it to make perfumes. Sir, may I see your tickets just to know your first? This is the t-shirts. You can write your name inside the cartouche. And this is a place for shopping. And it's not allowed to the camera. It's the god of the falling god of fertility in ancient Egypt. And this is the obelisk. The obelisk is something like a column. They used to register the victories of the king on it and put it in front of the gates of the temple. So they use it like a memorial. Would like to take a do shopping? Or would like to take...
I'm just a single man now.
That's okay, no problem. All of us, your family. We're from India?
I'm original. No, I don't. Have put everything together.
a replica for the tomb of King Tutankhamun. The original one can be seen at the Valley of the Kings at Luxor. And when you go there, you will find it empty because all the stuff, it was transferred to the Egyptian Museum at the second floor, except two things, the mummy and the lost coffin. We left it in its place. It was discovered by an English discoverer. His name is...
Folded bed?
Yes.
Wow.
This is the smaller chair.
Sorry.
When you close it like this, it will be a chair. That will be better for you to see it from the other side. This is the throne. It's made of wood and covered with gold. Here we have two headlines symbolizing the power. The king, in front of him the queen, above them the sun disk, the creator god in ancient time. This is the chariot. Some baskets for keeping seeds and fruit. The shield, sandal, alabaster vase. Here, this is the second room. Inside it we found also butcher just for keeping liquids like wine, beer, honey. A very nice game, looks like a chest of nowadays. You call it Senate in ancient time. And look at this one. The folded bed. Now you realize how it's gonna be folded? Because there is like a pawn between the two pieces. Actually, it consists of 3 pieces. Each piece is connected by like this.
Hinge, yeah.
Yes. This is the golden mask. We found that it was covered the head and the shoulders of the mummy, and it weighs about 11 kilograms of pure gold.
And this is in the
museum. The original one in the National Museum at Tahrir Square. But the original tomb located at Luxor at south of Egypt.
Yeah, I've been there.
And here, this is the burial chamber. Imagine that we found 4 shrines, each one inside the other. All of them are made of wood and covered with gold. In the inner one, we have 4 coffins or 4 sarcophagus, also each one inside the other. Imagine with me that the outer coffin is made of stone, 2 from wood and covered with gold. The last one or the inner one is made of pure gold, and it weighs about 110 kilograms of pure gold. This is replica for the mummy over there if you'd like to have a look.
So is this the mummy which is there in his tomb in Luxor?
Yes, this is replica.
Yeah, replica, yeah, I understand.
Now let's see the last chamber. What?
The mummy was kept in this type of tent over there?
This is not tent, actually.
Like in a
This
box?
is a burial chamber made of wood and covered with gold. So imagine that we have 4 rooms, each one inside the other. And here, this is the last chamber. We have here the jackal or god Anubis, the god of mummification and the guard of the cemetery. It smacks between the leg and the fox, and it was used by the high priestess as a mask during the mummification process. Behind it, we have goddesses Hathor, the cow, goddesses of love, music, and eternity. This is the sacred boat. Here. And here we have also a golden shrine. Inside it, we found this alabaster. This alabaster from inside, it is divided into 4 parts. In each part, we found some of the organs of the king. It was mummified inside it, like lungs, liver, stomach, intestines.
And this is so necessary for him, because without it, he won't come back once again in the other life. That was his belief, or that was how he thought. He must keep all of his body in a good case, because he believed at the day of resurrection or the life after this. And you wait to go out. In your way to go out, you find some pictures for the vision and Super. This is Howard Takata, this is Lou Canavan, and this is Dr. Rega. The original design of the tomb. Okay, you have 6 minutes.
This is the mosque in Jerusalem. further with the This is Alexander Cleopatra Museum, Port Museum and Nubia Museum.
English or Arabic?
English.
English? So you visit.
This was the war chariot of Alexander. And he had added some swords to the wheel. This is Cleopatra committing suicide after being defeated by the Romans. This is the naval battle of Actium, fought between Cleopatra and the Roman Emperor Octavian, in which she lost. This is Alexandra taking blessings at the temple of Oracle in Sea Oasis, Hellenistic Egypt, Alexander's sword. Alexander as a pharaoh. Alexandria city. Julius Caesar, Cleopatra, and Caesar's son. This is Mark Antony, her later husband. Battleships used at the battle. This was Emperor Octavian, the Roman emperor who defeated Cleopatra. She had to commit suicide. These are original Greek coins. Cleopatra 7 was lost. Alexander sarcophagus. It is now in an archaeological museum of Istanbul. Alexandria Library, first public library with more than 550,000 manuscripts. Ancient boats. Cleopatra's solar boat, no, Cheops solar boat, which has been discovered but is not yet on display at the Grand Egyptian Museum. Cross section of a boat. King Tut's golden boat. Funeral boats. Nobleman ship cargo boat. English ship that was used to transport first immigrants from England to United States. Mayflower, the first ship. A Greek warship used in the Troy War. Ancient Chinese sailing ship called junk. Thomas Cook's boat. Alabaster boat found in King Tut's chamber. Royal ship of King Tut. Royal yacht. Modern day Abbas Alami II, looking for recently President LC. These boats were Egyptian sailboats used by tourists. The reed boat, oldest. This is the Nubian Museum. Nubian handmade products. Musical instruments. Nubian band, model Nubian dress. Nubian beauty products, Nubian jewelry. Galuga with the wooden sail. Nubian house. This region was called Nubia. That's the Abu Simbel temple. meaning of the hat. Tanura dancer. Shisha. Monkey trainer. Tanura dancer dress. Pyramid making tools. Showing how the obelisks were chiseled, how they were carried. Obelisk barge. Wow. King Mantuhotep. Sea-going boat. Akhenaten. Queen Nefertiti. Missing. Showing the Battle of Kadesh. Hittite attack. worshipped in different parts of Nile. Temple of Philae. Hatshepsut Temple. Pharaonic Temple. Luxor Temple. Temple of Dendar. Seen most of them. These are the Sphinx, the Giza Pyramid, the pyramids of Saqqara, the Bent Pyramid, which I have not visited. Amazing museum. Head of Poseidon, the Greek god of the sea. Greco-Roman influence. Statue of Osiris. Statue of Isis. Lotus. Instruments, musical instruments. Perfumes. Head dress. Toward Egyptian hippo pregnant female. So goddess of pregnancy. Games and children's toys. Pottery lamp. This is the boat tour.
نورتنا بقى يا شيخنا. احنا خليهم يا باشا للذكرى.
خليه ماشي على دماغنا يا باشا.
تفكرونا بيها يا باشا. نفسك. عقب فترة من الزمن طابشون عليهم عيال.
islands. Pick one island. The other side of the island. Also find did a circle around this island, which is in the middle of the Nile. For half an hour.
جابوه جابوه. بص الفضاء دي، شفت الفراعنة عشان المبذلين دي. ايه؟
يعني انت واخدها ابويا.
كل عام وانت طيب يا راجل يا طيب.